What is going on, crypto fam? Welcome back to Sin City Crypto. I am one of your co-hosts, David. I'm joined with my other co-host, Robin. And this is our deep dive for this week. A little different, no video editing. Due to what's going on with Celsius, we figured it's very important for our community to know. A lot of you have been asking questions. What is going on with Celsius? What's happening? And what should we expect? So that is what we're going to be talking about today. Just a brief background on Celsius. Robin, if you want to pull up my laptop, sir. So this is Celsius's webpage. They have 1.7 million people who are custodying their money with Celsius. And on their website, I will go over these numbers in more detail currently, but says they have 151,000 Bitcoin in assets and over $750 million in insurance. So you might be wondering, well, why haven't they used that insurance to pay some people back? We will discuss that and much, much more. Also, it's important to know, Celsius was valued at $3.25 billion when it extended its oversubscribed Series B financing round to $750 million in November. Another key factor to consider as we're discussing, they did lose $22 million in their Badger DAO hack. And recently, the firm launched their recurring promotion, offering customers rewards if they transferred money into the Celsius account and locked it up for 180 days. Was this a precursor of what's to come? A lot of people say yes. Looks like they were trying to do this to fix their liquidity issue. They also did their HODL mode, which they presented to their clients, where I believe they were paying a little more interest if you turned your HODL mode on, which essentially meant locking up your funds again and not touching it. So Robin, in your mind, were these precursors to what is going on with Celsius and what we're seeing unfold right now?
I mean, if you take at face value what their company model is, it's not too far off of what a bank does. And so for me, I look at it like, hey, you need to have X amount of cash, preferably one-to-one, but realistically that's not going to happen. But you need to have liquidity available if people need to withdraw funds. And being in cryptocurrency, history has made it plain and simple, black and white, that when there are downturns in the market, there's big sell-offs, people make a run on exchanges. It happened in 2018, it happened in 2013. It's just happened over and over again. And I feel like people aren't learning their lesson. And so if you're responsible for custodying people's assets, you should prepare for the fact that there's probably going to be a price drop. So if you have a portfolio and you're custodying or whatever you're doing, you need to prepare for your treasury assets on hand to take a dip, for your company value to take a dip. And you need to also prepare for the fact that your customers are going to make a run on their assets when there's extreme volatility and there's big price drops. And so obviously this is coincided with the most recent drop here in 2022, where we saw Bitcoin go from, up in the 40s, testing the 30K mark, dropping below 30K, and lo and behold, we're down in the low 20,000s at this point. And so not surprised, I guess, that this happened. I'm just surprised that a company with as much stature as Celsius, somebody that we've talked to, that we think have the right intentions, weren't prepared for exit liquidity and volatility. I think they've made a lot of different mistakes along the road, and it's easy to look at something after the fact and then be like, hey, obviously maybe you shouldn't have been so heavily invested in staked ETH, because if there was a run on assets, it's a little bit more difficult to have liquidity, to offer liquidity.
Speaking of ETH and liquidity, Robin, here's some numbers. Celsius has only 27% of its position in ETH actually liquid. The remaining 73% is locked up in staked ETH, awaiting the successful implementation of the merge. Also, currently, Celsius is withdrawing an estimated 50,000 ETH per week, a withdrawal rate that will have them run out of liquidity in just 5 weeks. Now, we have pulled up on the laptop here, we'll discuss in a couple seconds here. But there's two things that could fast track Celsius's road to insolvency. One, postponement in the ETH merge. Two, a significant depegging of staked Ethereum. Now, we know staked Ethereum currently is depegged by around $80 to $100, give or take, at the time of recording. But if you see a significant depegging, let's say $200, $300, $400, they could be in a lot of trouble. I mean, 5 weeks of liquidity is nothing. Okay, we're also going to talk about what they're doing currently. Now, Robin, if you want to pull up my laptop. So this was a screenshot taken from the MakerDAO. And these numbers have changed a little bit, and I'll discuss that. But as of yesterday, they were the #1 holder of debt on MakerDAO, and their liquidation price was $17,200 on their Bitcoin, which would only consummate a 23% drop for them. And if you take a look at this middle column here, percentage of collateral out of all these large, right? You have Nexo in here. These other ones, Seven Siblings, Recursive Farmer, whatever it is. They have the worst percentage of collateral on here, right? 188%. You have some as high as 460%, 337%. So this is a little alarming. But if we go back and we take a look at this one here, this is currently, now they have been scooping up more Bitcoin to drive the liquidity price down. So they dropped it from 17,000 to 15,000, and their collateralized ratio went up from about 180% to 213%. So at the very least, we know they are trying. They are working on solving this issue. Robin, with everything I kind of just went over, what do you have any thoughts, anything you want to add?
So I look at it. I don't think that Celsius and their team are trying to be malicious. I think that they underestimated, one, the volatility of the market. Also, they vastly underestimated the Ethereum issues that we've had with, well, one, you had the, what was it? Well, what was it? They airdropped the tokens to the wrong place for the
Optimism.
Yeah, so the Optimism had some road bumps as well, and so we've seen that they just misjudged what the bear market would look like, and I think that at root cause that's the problem. And just to circle back to what I was saying, that you need to plan for these things. And I don't think they're being malicious. I think they had the right intention. They just didn't. I don't know. Do you think they didn't do their research? What do you think?
I think they went too heavy on staked Ethereum.
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious at this point, right?
Correct.
And so, I mean, you can easily, after the fact, if we were going to do a documentary on this after the fact, you can just say, hey, that's the root cause, right? I don't understand why would you go so hard into staked Ethereum? You know what I mean? You're not. I feel like that's almost the same as going all in on like Bitcoin Cash, right? Why not buy the real asset and just hold on to the real asset, especially if you're using somebody else's money, right? Because that's essentially what they're doing.
Right.
They're taking people's locked up crypto that they're earning interest on, and they're reinvesting it. But they're reinvesting it into an asset that isn't even the real asset. They're investing in staked Ethereum, which is a token that lives on a different blockchain, which eventually will merge. But you need to account for the fact that you need liquid assets to provide exit liquidity. And so I think that's where they had their or their boo-boo moment. So,
and a couple things I wanted to read.
So did you? I mean, you did bring up. If you're watching this, you're not really sure. They just halted all transfers and trades, and so they've literally just cut off all their users. So just put if you're not a holder of Celsius, just put yourself in their position. You have a significant part of your portfolio you're trying to safeguard for a bear market. You're not interested in selling. You're got this hodl mentality. You're checking off all the boxes that you're supposed to. And instead of just simply hodling and making no money on it, you're like, hey, why don't I just hodl and I keep it on a lending platform that gives me interest in return. So one, I'm playing it safe. 2, I'm saving, I'm earning passive income, and it sounds like a good idea, right? And that's kind of what a lot of experts are saying, like, hey, make your money work for you. But I think the lesson we've learned here, 1 from Celsius and 2 from the Terra Luna fiasco, is that there is risk in everything, and what you perceive as safe and what other content creators perceive as safe might not be as safe as you think it is. And so I would pursue caution. I think now that people have bruises and scars from these platforms, I think maybe the smartest thing to do at this point is to custody your own crypto. And we've been saying it before, but maybe, there is how about this, David? There's a lot of different platforms that let you stake your tokens, but keep it on a decentralized wallet. So where you would stake your say Ethereum through a MetaMask approval, and you still custody it, nobody else does, but it's locked up for staking. Do you think, in your personal professional opinion, do you think that would solve this issue where somebody can essentially not take your crypto if they go under?
But here's the thing, the reason people go to places like Celsius is because they're earning rewards that they can't, percentage yields they can't get anywhere else. If you're custodying your own crypto and getting staking rewards, they're not going to be
what's the percentage that you get, or what was the percentage for, say, Bitcoin and Ethereum in Celsius before all this went down?
I believe it was upwards of 8%.
Okay. And so here's a good example. I am big into Cardano, and I remember staking my Cardano on their main chain through the Daedalus wallet. And I remember looking, and I'm like, you know what? I get 4%, 3.5%, and as high as 4.5% returns. I think you can go as high as 5%. And that's your interest that you receive on your tokens on the native chain. But I always thought to myself, and you've brought it up to me before. You're like, hey, why don't you use Kraken, or why don't you use this? Why don't you use this exchange? And I always thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'd rather keep it custodied in my own wallet and receive my 4% and take no risk whatsoever than to go and put it on another exchange. And so that has always been my mentality, and it's the same way in life. If you buy the off-brand television and you save $200, the picture quality, it might still also be 4K or 1080p. Might have all the same specs, and at face value, it might look the same. However, you are playing with risk, because it might not have the same quality as that Sony television or the Samsung. And where you save in one spot, you give up in another. And so that's what I take away from this. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Look, I've gone on record over the past few days. I would be extremely nervous having any money in DeFi. What you guys got to understand is this. Anytime you give up custody of your coins to that company, from everyone that I've studied, that your crypto under their custody is considered unsecured debt. And what happens when a company goes insolvent or bankrupt? Unsecured debt goes bye-bye. They have zero obligation to pay money back, okay? So understand that, whether that's Coinbase, whether that's Celsius, whether that's any other DeFi or centralized exchange, that is what you are giving up. So next time, think to yourself, ask yourself this question. Is 7-8% worth the possibility that this company goes under, and the fact that they could probably, you could probably lose your money? Now, here's the thing we're going to pivot to kind of conclude this video is, what is Celsius doing, and is it going to work? Okay, so I'll go ahead and close this up here. And Robin, you feel free to interject at any point.
Good. You take the show away, man. Drop some knowledge.
Okay. So they paused the withdrawals, and I came out and said that might have been the right move. Now, am I saying that it should have happened in the first place? Absolutely not. You should not cut off the lifeline to your consumers by stopping all withdrawals and swaps. But you found yourself in this position, and you did. And I think that is what's going to save Celsius from going completely bankrupt and bankrupting the wallets of their consumers. Now, what they're doing, and from everything I've read, they're starting to pay back some of their debt. They're starting to bring their liquidation levels down. We saw that on Bitcoin. They brought it down from about 21,000 or 19,000 all the way down to 15. That's good. What I'm assuming they're doing, they're moving money around, which you can see on chain. They might be able to borrow some money or find a way to unstake some of the liquidity they have in ETH. If they can just get that unstaked somehow, right? Then that would solve a vast majority of the liquidity issues. Another thing that they got going for them, they have an offer outstanding from Nexo to buy up any debt obligations that they are not able to meet. And so there's another scenario that would be an outright buyout or purchase of these contracts that Celsius has with its consumers. So there are options, okay? If you have money in Celsius, I know you're scared. I know you're freaking out. I know some people who do. But from my personal experience and in meeting Alex and meeting the executive team from Celsius, I do not think that they are acting in a malicious way. I don't think they pause the withdrawals for malicious reasons to cash out their money. You can see on-chain data. I really, truly believe that they are working hard to try to solve this position they've put themselves in. Okay, they should be held accountable, but they are trying to make it right for you, for anyone else that has money in Celsius. Only time will tell, and we will keep you guys updated on this story. Make sure you guys come by Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. Vegas time, where we will continue to keep you guys updated on everything going on in Celsius. Either way, on behalf of myself and Robin, I hope you guys enjoy the content.
I do want to say, man, I think a rebrand would be a good idea, man. And essentially a rebrand would be Nexo come in, buy them, or just, someone else buy them. I think that would, because I think their reputation's tarnished, right?
Trust is lost.
There's no coming back from this. But a new token. So instead of being sold, maybe something else.
Robin, I don't know, man. If they can bring themselves out of the depths of this,
hey, man, the way I look at it, if you get shut down by the health department and then things on the news and you've tarnished your name as a sanitary restaurant, you know what? Change ownership.
I don't
put a new name out there. And then,
my concern right now I wouldn't give a crap about my image, nothing. I would just, my number one focus.
Make whole with your customers, bro.
Make your customers solvent and whole. That'll do it for our deep dive into Celsius, guys. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
All right. Thank you, guys.